Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. And with the release of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 pending, and the fact that James Gunn's DCU now has a plan, I thought that we would take a look at one of the older movies that James Gunn produced. A superhero movie that kind of begs the question, what if Superman crashed to Earth and was evil? And that movie, friends, is Brightburn. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so in order for us to talk about our movie, our throwback movie this week, we have to go back a little bit. Basically, Superman means a lot to James Gunn and his family. It is something his father bonded over with him when he was a kid, wanting to learn his interests. You can read all about that. James Gunn is very open about talking about his father wanting to learn more about his interests, and part of that was the Superman comics. Now, for some reason, he didn't go with the Superman IP when he got offered to write a DC movie after being temporarily fired from Marvel. But there's a whole story behind that we also won't get into. His family also has a love of the Superman IP, apparently, and that is why this movie is the way it is. Basically, in Batman vs. Superman, Batman has this really horrible viewpoint of Superman, deeming Superman to have the potential to be a world destroyer, to be essentially an evil god among men. Now, in the DC comic books, this is done periodically, making Superman into this horrible, horrible villain. Now, never is it as harsh as what Batman sees it could be in the Batman vs. Superman era, except if you're going in terms of injustice. But that is assuming that Superman turns bad, something that Batman has always been prepared for in the comic books. However, this movie, Brightburn, actually poses the question, what if Superman crashed down to Earth and instead of becoming the world's greatest hero, really did become the world's greatest villain? Starting out like a typical Superman origin story, the parents that actually find him decide that they want to adopt this kid. And they do. And all is normal till he gets into middle school. He's sort of being bullied a little bit. Kids are mean. That's just the way it is. And he develops a crush on a girl who's sort of sympathetic to him. Things don't go very good because he has a lot of anger issues. And these anger issues quickly escalate into he knows that he has the power to fly, to do all this stuff. Well, now, if he has that power, then no one is going to cross him. And it's brilliantly done in that regard, because here you have a little kid with massive amounts of power essentially being a brat. And it works very well. Now, it was billed as the first superhero horror film. Superhero horror film. A new genre, superhero horror. But it really doesn't qualify as that. If anything, this really does seem like a DC Elseworlds movie with Superman as the bad guy. However, the kid's name is not Superman. The kid's name is not Clark Kent. This is not Superman. This is something worse. This is just a kid with all these powers who decides that he is going to do whatever he wants. Alright, so fun fact, this movie could have spawned its own superhero universe. That's right. The movie had talks of a potential sequel. And not only that, they were talking about expanding upon the universe itself of what they had set up with this movie, with a number of options and surprises. Now, the kid that plays the main character in the movie actually said he would like to come back and play that character again in the future. And James Gunn even stated that he would have started to help work on the sequels, but at the time he was already busy. Busy doing what? That was Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He was fired from Marvel while working on Guardians and then turned around and came back. So both of those films are completed and Guardians is getting ready to be released. And that, my friends, makes the Brightburn universe possibly coming back even sooner than we thought? Well, not exactly, unless his brothers continue to do the work on this project with him producing. Then I could see it actually happening and being a thing. However, James Gunn has now become the head of the DC films. And that's going to be a whole different ballgame, because we've seen what his brothers and his family can bring to the table in terms of possibly having Brightburn be a thing, with an evil Superman actually working. And that's interesting, because James Gunn had something to do with that film, and all his love of the DC universe and all his love of Superman could in fact bring us one of the most evil bizarros that you've ever seen. That's just what I think. Now, in terms of this movie, I really did enjoy it. I thought it was dark and brutal, and yet still not as dark as some of the DCEU films. No, actually, it was a lot darker than the DCEU films. So, if you're a fan of the DCEU, I highly recommend you check this one out. And if you don't know what kind of villains James Gunn could bring to the table in terms of possibly doing something along the lines of a Bizarro or something really dark, then I recommend you check this movie out also. This may be the thing that changes your mind if you're not excited for James Gunn's DC universe. And then again, if you are a Snyderverse fan, this movie kind of borders on that a little bit as well, I feel like. It has a lot in common with being kind of dark and gritty and a bit more violent. So, I honestly enjoyed this movie. I give the movie 3.5 stars though, and the reason I give it 3.5 stars is because it does have a few slow moments where you do find yourself wanting it to speed up. Although it is an origin story, and origin stories do tend to be a little slow. But 3.5 stars is what I give this movie, and I honestly do recommend you check it out. Alright everyone, as always, we want to know what you think. If you saw this movie, tell us what you thought about it. If not, tell us if you're interested in seeing it. We want to hear from you in the comments. Don't forget to share this video with all of your friends so they can be a part of the conversation as well. And then friends, hit that like button as hard as you can. It helps the channel. We appreciate it. And then Miko says we need more subscribers. You don't want to disappoint Miko. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video we do. And then friends, at the end of the day, I know it, you know it, and Miko knows it. Fandom is family.